ArcRaiders has tons of enemies. The Queen, Bastion, Bison, Racketeer, Sentinel, Turret, Robot, Pop, Fireball, Tick, Wasp, Hornet, the Snitch, Arc, Probe, and more to come. It's kind of overwhelming when you think about it. Fighting arcs mixed with an array of players filled with unpredictability, some willing to fight alongside you while others are just willing to be toxic or sadist for the sake of it. And what we know so far is only the beginning. What we've experienced is just scratching the surface, which makes it even more exciting. When I first faced the Queen in ArcRaiders Tech Test 2, I thought to myself, what could possibly top this? The fight was brutal, man. Almost impossible to survive without absolute coordination with your team, raw skill, and just a grit to hold your ground. And all the while, in the back of your mind, you're watching for other players who might be waiting to strike while you're at your weakest, which is a given. That happens all the time. But the battle demanded everything. And when the Queen finally fell, it felt so satisfying, right? It felt like conquering the peak of what ArcRaiders could throw at you. But I was wrong. In those early tech tests, when we looked into the distance and saw a massive silhouette walking across the horizon, a lot of us, including me, thought that was just another version of the Queen being tested. But if you look closely at the size, the posture, and even the circular shape of its feet, you realize it wasn't the Queen at all. And that was actually an enemy in the first trailers before they changed it to a PvEVP game. We didn't know what it was, but now that we understand, it's not the Queen. That was the King. Bigger, stronger, more intimidating, and completely untouchable during the test. All we could do was watch. And now, with the latest trailer, we've learned that the King isn't even the final stage. Because above the King, there was something else revealed, something even larger, a colossal, a towering arc that dwarfs everything we've seen so far. So this evolution is wild because it shows how much deeper this game goes than what we first thought. Back in the day, about 2 or 3 years ago, when they first revealed the machine learning for ArcRaiders, I assumed that was the Queen being stress tested with machine learning. I even mentioned it in one of my videos. The thousands of iterations of movement and traversal was actually the King. You see the feet, the circular feet? That's how you know. And that mistake, thinking it was the Queen, just shows how little we've seen and how big the surprises still waiting for us really are. But EmbarkStudios didn't leave us high and dry. If they're going to throw new enemy types with even greater threats at us, they have to give us the firepower to match. And sure enough, another weapon was teased. Not another shotgun. It looks like it, but we already have enough of those. It's a grenade launcher, no doubt. Watching the gameplay footage, there's no mistaking it. And we don't know what else they're adding because along with this colossal, I've seen other arcs teased that we haven't seen before. So these tools of destruction are for your survival. As the arcs evolve, so must we. And that's where it gets interesting, right? Hear me out. Listen to this concept, because maybe this isn't just about new enemies and new guns. Maybe there's a system of adaptation at play, a futuristic twist on evolution. Humans adapt by building new weapons, armor, and gear. In turn, the arcs adapt by studying their own flaws, patching weaknesses, and creating new archetypes designed to crush us harder than before. It's a cycle, a war of evolution where survival is written in steel and code. The lore of ArcRaiders runs deep, deeper than we've even glimpsed so far. And right now, we're just scratching the surface, like I said. But I read this article and it was titled something like "Marathon stands no chance. ArcRaiders will destroy it," or "ArcRaiders is going to crush it." And I mean, I have to say that sounds true. There was a segment where they were talking about how the NPCs are in Marathon as opposed to Tarkov and ArcRaiders. And they said this does not exist in Marathon. That being the machine learning, the adaptation that's ingrained within the Arc. I mean, if you play against them, you just know what it means. They feel alive. And they said this doesn't exist in Marathon. Instead, we're given soulless robots that don't give off that sense of dread when faced. They're not as nuanced, which is a shame, from the studio behind the Destiny series. Well, when you look back actually at Destiny 1 and later on in Destiny, you notice the NPCs weren't really nuanced either. Some of them, they just stood there and had these like minuscule and average movements. Somebody made a video about it, how the AI and NPC is just not difficult at all. So Destiny was built for this sort of power fantasy that gave you this feeling of just being a dominant entity against the forces of evil. But we're getting off track, okay? The whole point is that they said that they're soulless robots that don't give off that sense of dread when faced. Now, I haven't played it, but this is based on many people who have. And as they continue, they say, I don't get it. But they need to get their act together if they're going to have any chance of taking on the masterclass that ArcRaiders is currently putting on. And everyone who's played Escape from Tarkov knows how punishing the AI can be when ignored or misplayed. Extraction shooters demand good PvE combat to provide legitimate threats to be avoided or tackled for riches. ArcRaiders provides a ton of PvE content through Arc machines. Each machine has its unique value to the overall enemy experience. Some scout ahead to mark raiders, while others are literal behemoths that only an experienced group should attempt to bring down. When playing solo, these enemies need to be almost entirely avoided. Some demand heavy weaponry to penetrate consistently, meaning most weapons won't be suitable for eradicating them. Anything above the most basic enemy will often take more than a single magazine. So as a solo player, you'll need to avoid a lot of fights unless you're willing to take the risk of attracting players over while you're busy unloading on a single arc over and over again. They also coordinate with one another, becoming a larger threat if they're not dealt with appropriately. Rocketeers, stunners, scanners, every enemy has something they do that complements the rest when grouped. Everything we've seen perfectly illustrates that. I mean, these wasp drones hovering above the bastion. You see how they're walking in a group and just synchronized and coordinated. This is insane just looking at it. And this speaks volumes to the fact that ArcRaiders actually has a full PvE mode. This is why I tell players. Some people were mentioning in my comment section and a few of my other videos like, yo, I'm not even touching this game. I don't like PvP. I don't like extraction games. I just want it to be a full PvE mode. Let me tell you, there is a full PvE mode ingrained within it. And I mean, this is the way that EmbarkStudios decided to market and design this game. With a PvP element, it raises the stakes, makes things more sweaty and exciting. And if you can wrap your head around trying to play this game with this involved, then it'll only make you better. I tell PvE players all the time, just try it out. I mean, you're not really gonna die. What are you afraid of? I mean, I get it. I'm not gonna say that, okay? I get it, all right? Because there is a real element of anxiety that comes with playing PvP, because you hear other players' voices, real people, and they threaten you. Some of them are really good, and some of them can kill you just for the sake of it, even if you have some item that you just worked hours getting. I've experienced this in a dark zone on Division plenty of times. People are toxic. So I get that whole element of anxiety, but I mean, I think that there's so much in ArcRaiders to the point where you can completely separate that element if you play a certain way. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, I'm pretty much done talking about this. I wanted to bring this to light to let you know that we have so much more coming than what we know. And we're only like a little more than a month away. Matter of fact, we can play before then, on October 17th, and I cannot wait for that. Didn't really expect to jump back into the Rust Belt so soon, but we are, and I'm here for it. Anyways, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I appreciate you listening to me until the end, and if you made it here, you're a GOAT. So like the video. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to my channel for builds, guides, and discussions. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.